Hey, welcome to Fame Ministries, Fellowship of Actors, Musicians, and Entertainers, where we take faith, mix it with a little bit of media, and come out with a great story. Click that like button, click that heart button, hit the subscribe button so you can be notified of future videos. We have a great show for you today, so stay tuned.
This is Fame Ministries with Dr. Booney Crawford.
Well, welcome to Fame Ministries. I have a very, very special guest with me today, all the way from Los Angeles, California, from Grundy, Virginia, Mr. RyanO'Quinn. Ryan, how are you doing, buddy?
Hey, man, thank you very much. I'm good. Well, first of all, I like the fact that I got a very, very special guest. I like that. And speaking of Los Angeles, I also I like the hat you're wearing today, so I appreciate that.
Well,
I don't know if that was just for me or if that was just, you grabbed it and threw it on anyway.
Absolutely. I actually was going to wear a Nash hat, but I thought coming up the road, I thought, you know what, I'm going to do my LA hat just for Ryan.
Well, I appreciate that. And probably even more accurately, my son appreciates that. My 9-year-old is a huge Dodgers fan and knows all the stats and all the figures. And kind of like I was at that age, I was a Braves fan growing up. You mentioned Grundy, and I was an Atlanta Braves fan when I was his age. And so much like he is for the Dodgers now, I knew everything and every player and every position and knew every stat. So by default, we've become a Dodgers household around here, and mostly thanks to my son, who just breathes, lives, and eats Dodgers baseball. So I appreciate that.
Well, we, of course, my son Dylan, he was a huge Red Sox fan. So they're American League, so they play the Angels. And we got a chance to go down and see Ohtani pitch. And Mookie Betts was playing for the Red Sox then. He had 3 home runs that day, and now he's a Dodger.
Yep. We swiped Mookie. It came at a price, though. It came at a big price to the Dodgers' purse, but we got Mookie. And then most recently, we speaking of the Angels, we got Pujols from the Angels. So he just basically cruised up the 405 when, I think that the trade came in on a Monday mid-morning. And so the legend goes, earlier this season, he just left Anaheim and cruised up the 405 freeway. And as he was walking into the Dodgers dugout, they were finishing his jersey number and threw it on him, and he played that night. So when the trade is that close from Anaheim to downtown LA, it makes it a little easier. So.
Yeah, we were really excited to see Ohtani pitch. And then, of course, I used to be a chaplain in the Cardinals organization, and we had Pujols' nephew in our area. So I became a Pujols fan back in the day and was anxious to get to see him. Well, anyway, he got thrown out in the 5th inning, arguing balls and strikes. So Ohtani pitched 2 innings, and Pujols got thrown out in the 5th inning. So there you have it. But it was fun. But Ryan, I just want to say again, thank you for being with me. I want to ask you a few questions, and I know you're not going to brag on yourself. So the Bible says, "Let another man praise you." So I'm here to lift you up and to talk about you and what you have going on. And I'm excited to talk about how a young guy from Grundy, Virginia, made it all the way to Los Angeles and then starts his own production company. And we're going to find out a little bit more about how that happened. So first of all, I want to say you are an experienced actor, a producer, a director, a writer, an author, a stand-up comedian. Is there anything you don't do in LA?
I think that list just further confirms that I can't do just any one thing really well. I when I was brand new to Los Angeles, back in the day when there was such a thing as business cards, I feel like that's all been sort of supplanted or augmented by, VCF cards and digital signatures and probably Instagram handles. But a buddy that I went to acting school with early on had on his business card, producer, actor, writer, director, bartender. And I thought, that's one thing that I can't add yet. So maybe I should take up another trade. But yeah, I think I have too many things. When people say, "What do you do?" Probably this is even probably even more accurate and better analysis of that. But my own kids who are 9, 11, and 13 came to me. It's at the end of this last school year, just before the summer, and my middle daughter said, "Dad, somebody asks me what you do. What should I tell them?" I was like, I don't know. I don't know. Make something up. I'm not really sure. So yeah, master of none, I guess, is the takeaway.
Well, I want you to know that I treasure our friendship, and you have been such a blessing to me and my family, and helping us learn more about the industry in LA. You also introduced us to the church that we went to out there, and we were so thankful and grateful for that. And if there was anything we miss about being there, is about going to that church. And we truly miss being there.
Yeah, well, thank you, and I'd be remiss if I didn't thank you. You and your family were so gracious, have been so gracious since we met, and it's a little bit rare on the streets of Hollywood to run into a hometown feller. Even though I grew up in Grundy and spent a lot of time in the Tri-Cities, we have a house in Abingdon as well, and so you know the places that I'm talking about. And so when you get somebody from that general area, Northeast Tennessee, Southwest Virginia, Eastern Kentucky, you kind of gravitate towards them because you can speak the same language, so to speak, but also, throw out the geography that each other knows about. And it was just a breath of fresh air to have you guys around a lot here in LA. And, you came on set a couple times, several different times during projects that I had, and just employed your skill set and your services. You were the jack of all trades for sure. Your amazing photography skills were invaluable on several of the movies that we did. So anyway, we could go back and forth, probably patting each other on the back, but I just want to say thank you for letting us be a part of your family.
Well, appreciate that very much, and I know that your sweet wife Heather is now producing and I guess directing some with Damascus Road Productions, which we'll talk about in a moment. But got to let our audience know that she is the best cookie maker in the world, and I missed the white chocolate macadamia cookies. And I was actually upstairs just the other day and saw the cookie jar that she gave us, and I'm like, oh man, I miss those cookies.
Yep. Yeah, I always say it's a miracle I'm not 500 pounds. She made cookies yesterday, and thank goodness I was out of town last week when Fox Studios hired her to do the upfront, the thank yous for the upfronts that they just had, and for the television season. And so she has sort of kicking and screaming become the go-to cookie maker for many of the studios around here. And so it's not uncommon for me to bounce up in the morning time, smell of 1,100, 1,500, 1,800 cookies coming out of the oven. And so it's she does well with her cookie making abilities.
Well, good. Want to just get into a little bit. I know that you were, again, you're an experienced actor. Beverly Hills 90210, Starship Troopers, Third Rock from the Sun, many other television shows, many other movies that you've been a part of. And then, of course, I was able to meet you, like you said, on the set of Believe. And then also a movie that's going to be out soon called Secret Agent Dingledorf and His Trusty Dog Splat, which is a children's movie. But I want to talk to you a little bit about how did you come from a coal mining town in Grundy, Virginia, and end up in Los Angeles, California?
Well, that's a good question. And gosh, there's so many ways I could answer that. But I guess where we should start is that I was a class clown all the way through high school. And I, speaking of Dingledorf, that's a funny segue because I play a clown in that movie. But I always disclaim that statement by saying, not to the detriment of preventing others around me from learning. And ask any of my teachers or my peers growing up. When I say class clown, I just mean I would be the guy that that imitated the teachers during the during the Friday pep rallies. So we would have a school-wide pep rally on Friday night before a home football game, and I would be the guy who imitated the chemistry teacher or the or the principal, and they thankfully laughed alongside me. So I would perfect these impressions of the teachers and sort of an homage, hopefully tip of the hat to their quirks and whatever. But I we didn't have a drama department at Grundy High School where I went to school and where I graduated from. So I made a little lateral move into forensics, and I often have to disclaim that as well. Forensics meaning humorous interpretation, poetry, dramatic interpretation, not the dead bodies, not the Quincy type forensics that you and I remember from television years ago. But forensics is a discipline in high school, middle school, and high school, drama type programs. So I dived quickly into forensics and had an incredible teacher and mentor there. Debbie Raines was my mentor, and prior to that, a guy named Larry Fields in the middle school was really instrumental in helping me hone, sharpen, focus some early drama skills, and probably more accurately comedy skills in taking chunks from plays and then performing that. And I ended up winning the state humorous interpretation competition my senior year of high school. And then from there, I went on to William & Mary, and I double majored in theater and government at William & Mary. And I often say, partly to appease my parents, and one for them and one for me. Nobody from that hometown had any notion that I would, including myself, by the way, that I would sneak away and run away to Hollywood and try to make a living in the entertainment industry. But I thought maybe there's a sliver of a chance. So I did got a bachelor's in theater and a bachelor in government, all the time with the full plan of going to law school after undergraduate school. But I had a little bit different path once I got out of undergrad.
Interesting. Well, I know that we'll talk a little bit more about your company here in just in a moment, but I know that being a part of LA and just my short experiences with it, a lot of it really is about who you know and the connections you have and the network you have. But I remember, I don't know why we were talking about it, but again, your wife was talking one time. She says, if you're going to make it in LA, you've got to create your own thing. And I thought that was an interesting statement because it seems like today, especially, and I'll refer back to this, that you went viral on YouTube for a series called Dad Dudes. And today, right, it's all about being a content creator and being a YouTube star or an influencer or something like that. So how do you think that plays? I know, especially the people who are going to be listening to this video and this podcast, whatever you want to call it, are not going to be experienced about how to get to LA. So you did a lot of things and you've done a lot of things. So how do you think all that plays in today's situation of becoming an actor or a YouTube creator or going viral, so to speak, to help your career as someone who is new to LA? How would you explain that to them?
Yeah, first of all, anybody who knows my wife like you do knows that she's way smarter than me. So anything that she says, you better take to heart. But she's absolutely right that at some point you have to take your career into your own hands and figure that out. My first year or so in LA, I plugged in my landline and I sat like this and waited for the phone to ring. Like, well, I'm here. What do you want? Why is the phone not ringing? And needless to say, it doesn't work that way. There's as many people that you can count on one hand that has happened to, where they got off the bus and somebody said, "You've got what it takes, kid," and throws them into movies. That's pretty rare. So, after slogging away for a while here in LA and realizing that, nobody's going to spot me at the at the ice cream counter and throw me in a movie, I realized that you have to figure it out yourself, and you have to sort of take it into your own hands and guide your own career. And arguably now more than ever, that is possible with things like YouTube and Instagram and TikTok. And, you know, there are so many people that you mentioned the word influencers earlier. There's so many people, and even young people and young kids who have millions of followers and are doing well as content creators, literally with this little device that we keep in our front pocket. It's pretty incredible what can be done. And my trek was similar in that I was a part of several viral video groups that I helped form and was I was asked to join prior to creating our own. And it was in the early days of YouTube, even prior to Google acquiring YouTube. I was a part of an 8-person viral video company, for lack of a better word. And we were one of the first viral video entities that were picked up by a major talent agent here in LA called United Talent Agency, UTA. They're huge, and they're really great, well known as representing comedians, and they picked us up and put us into a new category called new media. And at the time, it was literally that. Nobody really knew what to do with new media, and the Oscars of the internet is called the Webby Awards, and I like their model. When you win a Webby, you get a grand total of 5 words as your acceptance speech. So you have to obviously strategically and meticulously figure out what 5 words. And one year we were nominated for a Webby, and one year the content creator that won, I've never forgotten, but he had his Webby award in his hand, and he said, "Camera, check. Webby, check. Money." And all of us, stood up because it was exactly right. No one knew how to monetize this or what it meant. And you could have, back in the day, a million views on YouTube was just unheard of, for one video. And you could have that and still basically have made no money from that, creating that content. And then slowly, it became a lot more commercialized, and advertisers and brands would pay us, a nominal fee to create video content for them. But fast forwarding a little bit, I accidentally created, alongside 2 other great guys and great comedians, Matt Reitmeyer and Todd Wilkerson, we created an entity called Dad Dudes, with the notion of, we're all dudes. And I think our wives would agree with that. We never stop being dudes. At some point, we're just idiots. Most men are. I'm primarily talking about myself. But at some point or at the point when we have children, in that moment when we become fathers, something changes. Something spiritual, something innately, something viscerally, in my opinion, changes within us, and we become a dad in that moment. So while the dudeness still exists, the dad sort of takes over, and we're dads first and dudes second. And so that was the premise behind that name. And we would get together in my backyard, a couple times a month, and check in with each other and sit around the fire pit and tell lies and fish tales and check in with each other. And at some point we'd get around to waxing theologic, or talking about, dive into a little bit of Bible study and check in with each other. How's things going with the family? And it was just a really sweet time to hang out with like-minded guys. But during one of those backyard sessions, we came up with rewriting the songs for Disney's Frozen. So we were in the zeitgeist of all things Frozen. If you remember several years ago, everybody, it was all about Frozen. And I have three little kids, and I was a 40-something guy singing those songs out loud at the top of my lungs in the shower. And we rewrote the words to one of them and changed it, to a dad's perspective, and threw it up on the internet, and viral happened. And I don't think there's no recipe for viral. I think it's a mixture of a number of things, right place, right time, all the right elements, and we just happened to hit that moment, and sure enough, practically overnight, it was a viral sensation in every sense of the word. And then people sort of came out of the woodwork, and I ended up with a book deal, and we did a TV show about it, and it was sort of off to the races. Again, quite by accident, but it sort of launched what has now spawned into a production company and everything that we're doing at Damascus Road.
Wow, that's pretty exciting. And I'm a dude. I guess I'll always be a dude. But
Yep.
there's a lot I want to get to, and I know you are a very busy man. If you'll give me just a second to, I want to pull up the official trailer, I guess, for the movie that's coming out, Secret Agent Dingledorf, and just have you talk just a little bit about that, because there's something interesting that I know about it that probably nobody realizes. So I want you to see this, and then we'll go from there. Okay?
Sounds good.
It's time to right the world's wrongs and fight injustice wherever it may lie. To help.
Hey, losers! What are you scrubs up to now?
We're making a cool movie. Hey, you want to be the bad guys?
And cut.
Well, I see how you look out for your friends.
Yeah, I'm real good at that.
Well done, Agent Dingledorf. Your government needs you. Earth's last hope.
You're a twit. What's going on?
Meet Dr. Chuckles.
Clown.
Clown who plans to destroy the upcoming World Peace Conference. Could be a kid. The laugh generator.
He's gonna broadcast a special frequency.
Every cell phone in the world causing uncontrollable laughter.
There's nothing wrong with laughter.
Join 3 Spy Kids.
If laughter was the best medicine, your face would cure the world.
It's all up to you.
I'm just a kid.
Everyone has values, son. God, he doesn't make junk.
On a mission.
We could be real heroes. Do we have a plan?
Out to save the world. Uh-oh. Secret Agent Dingledorf and his trusty dog Splat. The case of the giggling geeks. Coming soon.
So Ryan, that's a pretty interesting movie that we're going to be able to see you act in, that we're probably not even going to know that it's you acting in it.
That's right. That's right. If we all did our jobs correctly, you probably won't even know it's me. So, yeah.
Well,
about an hour and 20 minutes of makeup every day to put that clown makeup on, and about 40 minutes to remove it every day. So that was my life for several weeks.
well, something that I find interesting, and this is a testimony to you and your ability to act. You were not originally scheduled to play that part, were you?
I was not. No, that's right.
And just when they started recording, you kind of got thrown into the mix of it all and said, you're going to have to do this.
Yeah, we Taylor Cole, who produced that movie, works here at Damascus Road, works for us. And when Bill Myers and Paul Arroyo and Billy Dixon came to us to talk about producing and if we had referrals and recommendations about producers, I immediately recommended and highly referred Taylor Cole, who, in my opinion, is going to take over Hollywood one of these days. He started out as my assistant a few years ago and just quickly rose up through our organization and is an incredible producer. He produced Paul's Promise. He was a co-producer on the last film we just finished called Little Angels, and so he has rapidly become an incredible producer. But he was one of the lead producers on this movie, and you're exactly right. A lot of people don't know the behind-the-scenes story of that, and there was a couple of other people that were in the mix to play the role of Dr. Chuckles. And then as they got very close to principal photography, I mean, they were I think a week or maybe less than a week out from rolling principal photography. A number of things happened as is typical in Hollywood, and they came to me about playing that role, and I quickly jumped on it. And another thing people don't know, we're divulging a lot of trade secrets on your show today, but I worked for an incredible ministry during college and even a little bit after college called Centrifuge, which is a youth camp that's run by Lifeway out of Nashville. And my first year of working at this youth camp for Centrifuge, I taught clowning, if you can imagine. So I taught high schoolers how to do clowning as a ministry. I know it sounds oxymoronic and sort of silly, but I taught youth how to don face makeup and use clowning to proliferate a message and use it in ministry. And so I recalled all of those skills from 20 years ago and employed that in the Dr. Chuckles role for Secret Agent Dingledorf. It was quite funny to come full circle. And even the people, I've had several people on social media that were with me that summer on staff at that youth camp and said, "My goodness, you're back and now you're getting paid to be a clown." So it's pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, I've got another one that I want to get into really quick because I know this is the part of what Fame Ministries is all about, and I know that your company is going to talk a lot about that. So let's check out this trailer for a new movie that you and your production company have coming out from Damascus Road Productions. Let's check this one out.
Dear God, my first request is for my son Paul. He's stubborn as a mule.
Why you gotta go and make me feel bad?
Why you gotta eavesdrop?
There ain't nothing I can say to thank y'all enough. How's your mama?
Is that a friend of yours, Paul? No. I don't know him. He don't know me.
You two closer than two peas in a pod when you were kids.
Somebody like that trying to talk to me about my mama, I'd have had to knock his two front teeth out. It's a long story. I ain't proud of it.
Well, sometimes those are the best sort of stories to tell.
Your mama's been ready to meet her maker half her life. So if she's still hanging on, I'm sure she's got a good reason.
Your mama deserves to have one man in her life come through for her.
You're nagging me about being a better daddy. She's dying, and ain't nothing I can do about it.
We all get lost sometimes. The important thing is what we do with our life when we find our way back.
Well, I can't wait to see this movie. It just looks like a great movie. And Ryan, I am proud of you and your company for what y'all do and the stories you tell. You can talk about the movie here in just a moment, but I want to talk a little bit about Damascus Road Productions because you guys created this company to create family-oriented content, even some Christian content, maybe content that's not necessarily called Christian, but it has a great message. Talk a little bit about why you started Damascus Road Productions.
Yeah, the company, the name has actually been around for a while. Even in the late '90s, I used that name and registered that company name with the state of California as my production company. The loan out for my production company and money as an actor, and behind name, I love sharing. Whether it's the length of an elevator ride or from a platform somewhere, but just in short, Damascus Road comes from Paul's journey on the road to Damascus. He was transformed from Saul, as you know, to Paul, and just the idea of a transformation. And our motto here at Damascus Road is, we know we have the capacity to influence with media, and we would love for that 90 minutes to 120 minutes that we have people's captive attention in either a movie theater or in the in the comfort of their own home when they're watching a Damascus Road movie. We have the ability to speak truth, and we want there to be, at the very least, some modicum of transformation. And like you said, it's sometimes it's not overtly faith-based or Christian movies, but it will always be a nugget of truth that is built into all of our films. We use the word aspirational and inspirational and wholesome around here, but we always seek to do films that you can sit down with the entire family and watch with grandma and grandkids and not have to worry about what you see on the screen. And best case scenario, when the credits roll at the end of a Damascus Road movie, you will, at the very least, ask big questions. What did that mean In the case of Paul's Promise, it's about, it's a biopic. It's a true story about a guy named Paul Holderfield, and he had just an incredible journey, and the opportunity to tell someone's true story and to have hopefully have audiences at the end of that go, man, what a journey, and what does that mean to my life? Which is probably that's a long-winded answer, but that's the hope of every Damascus Road movie is some model of transformation, even if it's just sight that points people closer to the truth.
Amen. Just tell me a little bit about that movie, Paul's Promise. I mean, is it kind of a reflection of your company, or is how did that story come to be?
Yeah, we were in the middle of pre-production for a different project, and we were slated to shoot in New Mexico. And at the last minute, that project fell out, and so we had a partial crew that we had already amassed in New Mexico, and we were sort of thrown a curveball at the last minute. And by the way, this was summer of 2020, so we were still in the midst of pandemic.
Yeah.
Exactly, and trying to figure out what that means and how to shoot a movie. We were one of a handful of production companies that actually attempted to shoot a movie in the middle of a global pandemic, and we ended up doing two of them before mask mandates lifted and things like that started to open up around the country. But a guy from our neck of the woods from Bristol actually had had the rights to this movie, Paul's Promise, and he had met somebody from the family or somebody who had the rights at the NRB convention, National Religious Broadcasters Convention. I think it was in Nashville that year or the year before, and had stumbled upon this incredible true story. And it was it's about, like I mentioned before, it's about a guy in Little Rock, Arkansas, who grew up he was the son of a sharecropper. This is he was born in the mid-30s, but he had a black best friend growing up, and he and his best friend both were sons of sharecroppers and very poor, and was from the wrong side of the tracks for all intents and purposes. And as he grew up, by his own admission, he became a racist and a bigot, and fell in with the wrong crowd, and was malinformed and misinformed, and really was a racist. There's really no other way to say that. And he in his autobiography admits that, and his family and everybody knows that. And then the Lord just got hold of his life and really turned his life around and showed him that was not biblical, and that was that is has no place in this world. And in the peak of the civil rights movement in the late 1960s, he accidentally started a church in North Little Rock, Arkansas. And it really just started with a food kitchen and a food pantry. He just really had a heart for loving on people, is really just the best way to say it. And he went to the heart of the inner city and just started feeding people and hanging out with kids and playing games with them, and really just loving on people. And that spawned into a ministry, which started a church. And he was the first to say, I am not a preacher, I'm not a pastor. In fact, he did a search of a pastor that would take the reins of that church. And when it was evident that it was going to become a church, which still exists, by the way, called Friendly Chapel, he did not want to be considered as a candidate for the pastor. And one of his excuses was, well, I've never been to seminary. And his wife said something like, well, you've read the Bible. And so he reluctantly agreed to lead this congregation. And man, it was the Lord really used that church and that congregation, and it was among the first racially integrated churches in the American South. And he did avant-garde things in 1969, like inviting a black pastor to speak from the pulpit, which was a mixed race congregation, was nearly unheard of in that part of the country during that time. And anyway, when we got hold of this story and heard it, I immediately wanted to be a part of it in some way. And then when the executive producer came to Damascus Road to ask us to produce it alongside them, we just quickly jumped on the project and fell in love with it. And I was not originally attached to play Paul Holderfield. But the investors and the executive producers asked me to consider it, and it didn't take long at all. I was fascinated by and just really loved the idea of the transformation of this character, and really wanted to dig in and figure out how I could bring his story to the screen. And so I was at an event the other day, and one of the questions was, you know, what one movie that you've done do you like the best, or do you appreciate the most, or something like that? And I'm sure that answer will evolve the more projects that we do. And you know, prior to this one, whatever the last one was probably my favorite one at that point. But this one so far, by far, you know, claims that prize of being my favorite one for a number of reasons. And it's partly the ability to dive into the skin of a character and really help take the audience on a journey from a bad guy to a guy who's really seeking what the Lord wants for his life, and then trying as best he can to carry that out and to be an example by actions, along with words, but by actions to show other people, you know, in the height of when something like that was not popular, and really just bucking all social norms and doing exactly that. So thanks for showing that and for talking about that movie, because we are super excited about it. It's in post-production right now, and we're in the midst of finalizing the color correction. In fact, next week we have one more day of pickups on the movie, and then it'll be completely in the can, and you know, we can dive in and add the music and the score and all of those things. But that's one that I'm really excited about sharing with.
Well, it looks wonderful, and I can't wait to see it, and especially in the climate that we're living in today. And I just hate what America is going through right now when it comes to issues like that. And something I hope that maybe your friends who will see this and not know anything about Fame Ministries, that we can tell them that Fame Ministries is a ministry that stands for Fellowship of Actors, Musicians, and Entertainers. And we want to be someone and a ministry that's, you know, ministering to everyone. We want to be able to take fame and further the gospel. We want to associate and assimilate people into their local churches and fellowship. We want to do ministry where we need to, and more than anything, we want to exalt the Lord in all that we do. And I think, Ryan, with you and the projects that you're doing exactly that. And I hope that we can be a support to you and be an encouragement to you as you continue to put out projects that like this. And you know, I know a lot of people, especially in Hollywood, who kind of they run from the religious side or the faith side, and I was so blessed and pleased that when you talked to me and you said that was not the case, and I was so excited about that, because, like, again, you know, people here on the East Coast and probably from around the world probably think that Hollywood is nothing but Looney Tunes and a bunch of nuts and devil worshipers and all that kind of stuff, but we have found that there are a lot of people who are truly Christ followers and lovers of the church and things like that, and I'm excited about that. There was a friend, you would know him if I told you his name, and I won't mention him here, but I asked him one time, I said, why do you think that movies and sets like that don't like to have Christians in charge? And his words were to me was, Hollywood thinks that Christians are too nice. They're not mean enough to make a project happen. And I thought to myself, I said, you know what? Meekness is not weakness. Meekness is just power under control. And if people really realize what we have and what we can share with them, it is an anointing. It is the hand of God on our lives. And Ryan, I think that you and your company is exhibiting that. And you definitely have the hand of God on your company and the work you're doing. And if people would begin to see that the power is in the favor of God, and why they are afraid of that, I don't know. But you shared with me one time, I asked you, I said, do you think that Hollywood is afraid to be blackballed because you're known as a Christian? And you said, no, not really. And that really caught me by surprise. And I said, well, why don't you hear much about it? And you said, well, they don't talk a lot about it until you ask them. And if you ask them, they'll talk all day. And I said, I'm here to ask. So I hope that we as a ministry and companies like yours will be such an encouragement as we mix faith and media together. It's the most powerful thing there is. And I want to join both aspects to affect our culture. Ryan, any final words that you have, any thoughts that you have that you want to share with the audience that we will reach about faith in Hollywood, or just encourage people in their faith?
Well, thank you, Booney, for Fame Ministries and for existing. It is para-church support ministries exactly like yours and yours that fuel us to keep doing what we're doing. And like you said, Hollywood often gets a bad rap for, I grew up on the East Coast as well, and not far from where you're sitting right now. And, I'm overgeneralizing, but, we often hear that Hollywood is the den of iniquity, and that's where terrible things happen and terrible movies and shows and music and entertainment comes from. But it's also where all entertainment comes from. 95, not all, but 95% of everything you see on TVs and in the movies generates somewhere within a 30-mile radius of where I'm sitting right now. So, we exist to be an influence in that culture. We know that we're a very small cog in the grand scheme of things, but we also know that we have the capacity to influence culture, for better or for worse. Again, within what we call the TMZ, the 30-mile zone from where I am right now, so goes the world. And again, that is for better or for worse. But there is also a better in there, and that means that we have the capacity to put out entertainment that influences the world with a positive message. And so we're going to keep doing what we're doing here, and we just rely on the support of you and your audience to help us keep doing what we're doing. We're all in this together. Hebrews says that we're surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses, and I take that to mean that we need to surround ourselves with good people, and that people that we can count on, people that we can trust, and people that we know we can come to in times of good and bad. And I include you and your family in that mix, and I hope you feel the same way. And God willing, we're just going to keep doing what we do and elevating the quality of products that we're putting out, in hopes that it honors the Lord. And we just appreciate your prayers while we do that.
Amen. Ryan, thank you so very much for being with me. This has been something that's been coming along for a long time, and finally we're able to make it happen. And I hope that people will be encouraged by it. I encourage you to go check out RyanO'Quinn, check out Dad Dudes, check out Damascus Road Productions, look at all the projects they have coming out. And I want our listeners to go away with this thought, that the gospel is the good news. Fame Ministries is not about fame. It's not about fame and fortune. It's about the fame of Jesus Christ. And it's about promoting him and having his message spread abroad. And the gospel is what the Greek is called the euangelion. The euangelion is the good news. It is the gospel. And when we look deep into it, Jesus Christ is that good news. He is that gospel. And I hope that people will put their faith in him. So, Ryan, thank you so much. Thank you for being a blessing to us, and thank you for taking the time. Maybe we went longer than you thought we would, but I appreciate it very, very much. God bless you.
Anytime. Thank you.
Well, thanks again to RyanO'Quinn from Damascus Road Productions for being a part of our video today. We hope that you have found some encouragement and maybe some even hope, and maybe gained some value from it. But we also want you to know we appreciate you being here and being a part of this video and for watching. And we want you to know that if no one's told you they love you today, we love you. You know, the Bible teaches us in 1 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 19 and 20 says, "For what is our hope, our joy, our crown of rejoicing? Are ye not even in the presence of the Lord Jesus Christ that is coming? For you are our glory and our joy." If you'd like to know a little bit more about why we have so much hope and so much glory in Jesus Christ, you can contact us here at fameministries@gmail.com, and we'd be glad to contact you and let you know more about a relationship with Jesus Christ. Also, in closing, I want you to know that we don't usually take donations from the public, so to speak. We usually do projects, and we take the money we make from projects to keep us going. But if you, for some reason, would like to be a part of our ministry and would like to help us financially a little bit, you can do that by making a check payable to Fame Ministries, and the address is P.O. Box 3216, Johnson City, Tennessee 37602. You can also go to the fameministries.org website, and you can do it by a card there, or I think it's paypal.me/Fame Ministries if you'd like to make a donation to our ministry, and everything is greatly appreciated. Finally, if you are a business owner or someone that would like to underwrite one of our videos, we will do a commercial for you, and or you can send us what you would like for us to do, and we can put it on the website. We'll have your logo on there, and it will be displayed on all of our platforms. Wherever this video is broadcast, it'll be seen there, and we'd give your business a little bit of advertisement. So again, any of those things that you'd like to know more about, please contact us at fameministries@gmail.com, and we will be glad to talk to you a little bit more about that. Again, thanks so much for being here. God bless you all, and stay tuned for the next episode. But until then, pound that like button, pound that heart button, share it as many times as you can, subscribe to our channels so that we can get this message across to as many people as possible. God bless, and I love you in Jesus' name. Bye-bye.